Hi guys, and welcome again to my channel, cookingwithchriswall.com, and also Chris's Caribbean Delights. This recipe is going to be about a curried chicken. In preparation for that recipe, I'll be showing you how I clean the chicken and cut it up and how I season it before we go into the recipe. So this is very important. So here we go. I would usually have two knives, a small knife, paring knife, and a large knife for cutting my bones up. But first of all, you have to clean all of this out. Also, I take this off, and any excess fat that's there, I'll trim. I'll trim the excess fat off. You're trying to eat a little healthy, all the excess fat that can come off, just trim that off. In here, I just kind of clean everything out that's in here. But I first soak this in vinegar and salt. A liquid of vinegar and salt, which draws the scent and the rawness of the chicken out. So salt and vinegar, and you wash it properly. And then when I'm finished cutting it up, I'll wash it again in some salt and vinegar, that liquid again. Then I go and I will cut them in. The joint. And I need smaller pieces. So I just go in with my knife. And now this is probably a good size for that, and I'll do the same here. I'll do the same here, maybe a little more on this one. Or you can have this done at the butcher. Okay, the butcher can do this for you. Cut it up into stew meat sizes. So that's what we have, and I have like 6 of those, 6 legs and thighs, which I'll continue doing, and I'll come back once we're ready to marinate them again. Okay guys, now that I have my pieces all cleaned, trimmed, and cut to the size that I want them, I have them all cut to the size that I want them. I'll now add a half a cup of vinegar, with a cup of water, and a tablespoon of salt. Make that mixture, and I'll pour this over the chicken. Make sure that salt dilutes. Pour it over the chicken. Put this away. I'm going to go in with my hands and really rub this together. Again, move it around and rub it together and get all that gunk off of the chicken, and you see it's going to rise to the top. And we'll have this, I'll leave this soaking for at least 5 to 10 minutes. See how the water is getting here. That's what you want. Wash your hands. Always wash your hands after having meat, any meat. Wash your hands. So this is going to remain soaking here for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back for the next step, where we're going to rinse it off and season it up. Okay guys, it's been about 15 minutes, and this is the chicken, the pieces that I've cut up. I'll now wash this off, wash the brine off. I had a mixture of vinegar, salt and water that I soaked it in for about 10 to 15 minutes. I left it for 15 minutes, but you can do it for 10 minutes. And I'll wash all of this gunk off of it, and then we'll start the seasoning process. So just let me wash this and bring it back, and you'll see what it looks like. So here's what it looks like. I've washed it, and it's very clean, and I'm draining it. You have to have patience in the kitchen, guys. I'm draining it, so I want all that excess water to drain off before I put my seasoning on there, because the seasoning is just going to wash off if I just put the seasoning on there with the water on there. I'm draining it now for a few minutes, and then I'll start seasoning. Okay, so here we go with the seasoning. I'll first go in with my salt element. This is my powder, my chicken bouillon, and you go in with about a tablespoon of that. I will mix this around a little to get the pieces coated. Then I'll go in with, this is my all-purpose seasoning. It's an all-purpose seasoning. Going with a tablespoon of that. Get this in there. Now I'll go for my Indian spices. I have here, this is ground garam masala. It's a blend of spices that is ground and parched and ground. You can get it in any Indian store. It's an Indian spice, garam masala. I'll leave the description. In the description, I'll leave the name and the contacts. This is ground cumin. It's parched ground cumin, roasted ground cumin. I should say roasted. It's roasted. Roasted ground cumin. You go in with a teaspoon of the masala and a teaspoon of the ground cumin. So these are very potent spices. And once this sets, it's gonna get that deep smoky flavor that we're looking for. Now for some heat, I'm going to use some hot chili powder, because this curry is going to have a little bit of heat. So you go in with a teaspoon of hot chili powder. Okay, you can go in with some onion powder to give it a flavor, though you're going to put some fresh onions in there, and the regular cumin, about a half a teaspoon of that. And now obviously we have to have the curry. We have to have the curry in there. So we'll go in with at least 2 tablespoons of curry. You're going to season this. You're going to season this with some curry right now, and then you're going to also season this with some curry when you're going to cook it. You can also add some curry when you're cooking it, but you need to coat this with the curry right now. those seasonings plus the curry. Just have it coated with the curry. Maybe 2 tablespoons. Well, tablespoon and a half. I had a tablespoon first. 1.5 tablespoons. Just to coat. And you mix this around and make sure it's all coated with all the seasonings. Now, I still have a few little fresh things I want to bring to it. And I'll bring some fresh herbs into it. Garlic and onion. I'll have to grate my garlic in here. And once we've done this and we season this, you can either leave it overnight for 1 hour, 2 hours, or overnight would be very good, would be excellent, and before you make it cook. But most times we're in a hurry and we just leave it for about 30 minutes or 40 minutes or so, because when it cooks it's gonna be great anyway. So just grate some garlic in there, four pegs of garlic. I did at 4 or 5, I lost count. And then I'm gonna grate some onions in there. I'm gonna grate a half of an onion in there also. Onto the meat, and then we'll mix it, stir that in, and we'll cover this and leave it to marinate. There we go. Stir in my onion and the garlic. The onion and the garlic I just grated on there. Stir that in. Stir that in. Get it coated. Get everything coated. And one other thing I usually would put in here is powdered turmeric. A little powdered turmeric. So I'll get my turmeric and I'll be back. Okay guys, I couldn't find any turmeric powder, but I had the fresh turmeric, so I just peeled it and I'm gonna grate it in here. A little goes a long way. It's gonna enhance the color of the curry also. I'll put 2 sticks, at least 2 little roots in here. So that's grated turmeric. That's fresh turmeric grated. Grated fresh turmeric. Let me stir this in. Okay, so now I'm going to let this sit covered with some plastic wrap and let it sit for at least a couple of hours before I start cooking it. And let all the seasonings just marinate and they get to know each other, and you know. So I'll be back when I'm ready to put this on the fire. See you later. So I'm back and I'm ready to put the curried chicken together and put it in the pot. I'm using my my heavy bottom crock pot, and so you need that pivot. You need to hear that sound. Then sear the meat and seal all the juices in. Give me the stronger spoon on this one. So we're going to stir it and make sure that they are coated with the oil. And we let it sit. And let it seal all the juices, sear the meat, and we'll turn it, sear the other side, and just make sure that everything is seared and the juices are trapped in there before we start the other process of cooking. This is the searing. You have to sear it and you seal those seasonings in and the juices in. So we let this go for a little bit, open, and then we'll be right back. Then you keep turning, give it a stir. So the ones at the top and go to the bottom. And then just let it rip, let it go. So in the meantime, I've diced some potatoes. Cut them in some small wedges so that they can all cut them in some small wedges, and we're going to add this towards the end of the curry and let this steam right in there. So here we go. Now to the curry I'm adding some chicken broth. Chicken broth. See, it's all seared really nicely. Nice little color on there. Just a little. Just needs a little bit of salt. Half a teaspoon. So right now, so that can work right into the meat. We'll cover this, reduce it to a simmer and cover. This is going to go for probably 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll open it and see how far we are. Here's a nice vigorously boiling pot. Stir, it's all coming. All coming together. Tastes awesome. It's really hot. I'll now add the potatoes in. And you'll ask, why do I have the potatoes covered in water? That's because that's to make it not oxidize. It gets brown if you just lay it out there. When the air hits it, it gets brown, and oxidation steps in. To deter the oxidation, keep it in cold water until you're ready to use it. So after straining off the water, we'll just add our potatoes in there. And this is about 10 minutes before the 10 minutes before the end. This has been cooking for like 20 minutes now, and I will give it another 10 minutes so that the meat is already soft, so that the potatoes can steam and get to a good temperature, fork tender. So let's let that happen, and we'll leave it open. I'm going to leave it open so that, because I have a lot of liquid in there, I want some of the liquid to evaporate so I can get a thicker stew. So I leave it open so that the evaporation can happen. We'll be right back. So here guys, I just turned the stove off. The potatoes are done. The meat is really nice and soft, and the consistency of the gravy is what I want. So you can serve this with some white rice or with rotis. So here you go. Curried chicken with potatoes. Enjoy. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. Like, share, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell so you can get more of the awesome recipes that I'm going to upload. It's awesome. White rice, chicken curry, roti, chicken curry. My roti video is coming up. My roti video is coming up soon. Yeah, I'll drop that maybe tomorrow. So, thank you for watching.